It turns out
You're my idol.
you need a place to live so that you can go to sleep in between your working hours.
Who would have thought?
Work is life, man.
So, Eric, did you get your braces off before or after your wild sexcapade to Puerto Rico? Welcome back to the Better Friends podcast. My name is Johnny Corcoran.
My name's Corey Stockman.
I'm Eric Feist, and the answer is it was after the wild sexcapade. Look at these babies. They're so sensitive. Sorry to say, but there was not as much sex in the sexcapade as you may think. But Puerto Rico is phenomenal. It's so pretty. Lots of things happened. Went in the jungle, jumped off a 40-foot cliff into a pool with a bunch of other people. You know what doesn't exist in Puerto Rico when you're in the jungle? COVID. That's what doesn't exist. Because guess who's wearing a mask? Nobody. But hey, it was fun. Vaccinated.
Really?
Yeah. It's a fun fact. Actually, this is true. You can't get COVID in Puerto Rico, so.
Do they actually have like 0 cases there?
No, I'm kidding. It's level 4. It's really high. They're sanitizing your hands and taking your
Oh.
temperature wherever you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they are taking it serious. That's reassuring.
They are, yeah. They had these cool hand scanner things you'd go under and they'd take your temperature and sanitize your hand at the same time before you walk in. Guards looking at you like, hey, put your mask up. I'm like, I'm vaccinated, bro, okay? I get it.
I hope you said it like that too.
Exactly like that. I freaking missed you guys so much.
What happened? What happened in the last couple weeks? Like, why haven't we had an episode out?
Corey, why don't you explain?
'Cause we suck. No, I'm kidding. We've all just been like super busy. I've been working absolutely nonstop for the past 2 weeks. I've been planning my camping trip that I'm going on in, oh my gosh, less than 2 weeks. Actually, no, 2 weeks from now exactly is when I'm going to be taking off into my expedition into the wilderness. But I'm leaving a week early. But, so I've been planning that a lot. I literally, for those who may not know, I'm going into the Boundary Waters for 2 weeks on a solo trip. And I have been spending a lot of time planning it. I have a whole like list of food that I'm bringing in, like a meals schedule. I've probably spent more time planning this trip than I have actually teaching classes, which is kind of depressing. But I also don't want to die, so like pick and choose, right? Get paid
Right.
to not die, or like planning to not die, or get paid to just also not teach, but also kind of teach. I don't know. I don't freaking teach science classes, but they let me.
It's like, he's a sub.
But
Throw
yeah,
him in.
yeah, he's a body. He could do it. But yeah, no, I've just been really busy working, planning, and just hanging out with like specific friends that invite me over for board games and whatnot. Living my
Wow,
life.
maybe we should hang out sometime. Jeez.
Yeah, well, it would help if you didn't live. How long do you live away? Like 45 minutes away?
2 hours, but same thing. So,
That's even
it's even worse.
okay. Anyway,
Okay.
what
so-
about you, Johnny? Why haven't
Johnny!
you been?
Give us
Johnny,
the
why don't
beans,
you love
Johnny.
us anymore?
Yeah. Huh?
Yeah, well, I've just gotten new better friends. No. Actually, so the topic of this episode is adaptability, which I know you're thinking, wow, it's been 5 minutes and you're just finally telling us what the episode is about. Yeah, that's because of all the craziness that's been going on. So basically, we're all in this situation where life has thrown us an absolute Well, I don't want to say really life has thrown us. We kind of threw ourselves into this knuckleball of a pitch. And for me, what it's been has been uh, moving and moving to a place where I'm happier and I'm able to be a lot more independent and sort of kickstart my development again. And so my mistake is that it's my first time really doing that, and so I didn't plan ahead enough. And in retrospect, it's quite obvious. But I transferred my work situation before I transferred my living situation. And if you're thinking, oh, that's probably fine. No,
That's probably
no, it's
fine.
not. It turns out
You're my idol.
you need a place to live so that you can go to sleep in between your working hours.
Who would have thought?
Work is life, man.
And then I started work at the Target in Bemidji on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. And I worked 40 hours that week.
Jeez, man.
You're a workhorse.
It's a lot too.
Yeah. So that's why it's been a little bit hectic on my end.
Yeah, and
Understandably.
we've had problems with the freaking audio and just issues with, I don't know, we recorded this in-person podcast and the audio was just really weird. We had an amazing time. That's where we got these pics that you may be seeing. But that's fantastic. Then we had an episode after that too that's supposed to be posted, and just neither kind of worked out. And so our main plan went wrong and our backup plan went wrong. Here we are again, though. We've been missing.
We tried. We tried.
We really did. And thank you, Corey, for trying to figure that out. Thank you, Johnny, for trying to figure out this noise gate stuff. That's all stuff now listeners don't need to know. But I've also just been working a crap ton, too, since being back from Puerto Rico and everything. It was a nice recharge, but that's mainly where I've been. Got the braces off. Got headshots done for acting stuff. Figuring out what I'm doing for the fall. Exactly for classes and orientation and stuff like that. Turns out I got to register for an orientation as a transfer student. That's kind of cumbersome.
Oh, I guess you do. Most schools make you do that, and that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Who would have thought that I'd need to plan ahead a little bit? Yeah, but again with the adaptability, Johnny, where you at with that? Where you living right now? Where you gonna live in the future? And what can you say about that?
Sure. So the thing about life is that it's always changing, right? There's this constant theme of change for everyone. So for me, it's moving to a new place to get out of the house and to sort of kickstart my becoming an adult again, this sort of journey of like figuring out, okay, living on my own, bills, working, where I'm going to work, where I'm going to live, and all of this craziness. So as far as adaptability in that situation, I'd like to say I've actually kind of killed it in that aspect. Sort of went into crisis mode, figured things out. I bunked. One of my friends who lives here left and went back home to do some practicum or something. As a student teacher, something like that. I don't know.
Student teaching?
But he vacated his room and offered it to me. So I lived there for approximately 10 days. Maybe like 12. And then I was working that whole time. I drove home to pack up all my stuff. So I had brought enough for those first few days, and then I drove home and got the rest of my stuff. And I filled up my car with most of my belongings. And now I'm living with another friend of mine who had an extra room in their house and offered to let me stay with them for a month until I can move into my apartment.
How do you feel about all this?
it is, like I said, I kind of went into crisis mode, and I was understanding that I'd be living the hobo life until I was able to make this work out. And I feel a little bit frustrated with myself because, like I said, it's incredibly obvious in retrospect that you should figure out your living situation first. Because if I had done that, I could have just stayed home for another month and then got my transfer through to the Target up here when I had a place to live and I wouldn't have to worry at all. So all of my anxiety and my frustratedness, all of that I know is self-caused. And so it's been a very distinct learning experience of, okay, this is going to be indelibly printed onto my brain to figure out where you're going to live first the next time that I move. But in the meantime, my feelings have definitely been, okay, crisis mode, solve the crisis. And then once that's done, try to minimize my impact on the people who I'm sort of bumming off of. So keep all of my stuff in like a relatively compact area. Try not to use any of their stuff if I can avoid it. Try to streamline things as much as I can for them so I'm not having a big impact on them. And then my anxiety of, okay, figuring out a place to live, trying to get out of this whole hobo life. The anxiety of living with people and sort of sharing a living space. Yeah, it's been a lot of anxiety. Is probably the main emotion, but I've also been trying to find sort of a calm in. I know that I can figure this out. I am figuring it out. I'm not in trouble. I was able to find a place to live. I'm still working. I still am doing okay.
That's awesome. I really admire you doing that because from my perspective, I view it as really cool that you moved forward without really knowing everything that was going to happen. And I just think there's also the scenario where, like, okay, you would have just been prolonging you moving to Bemidji, which you've wanted to do for a long time now, and would have made maybe more excuses to keep pushing it off. And so making that decision force you to do it, and it forces you to figure everything else out with it. And so I think that kind of brings up the concept of when do you like go for something, or when do you like make this decision, like once you have everything figured out, or do you make the decision, go for it, figure everything else out along the way?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting question. I think it definitely depends on the circumstances. Like, for example, Corey's trip to the Boundary Waters, that's something you'd want to figure out a little bit more ahead of time. See, I knew that I had various options of worst case scenario, what am I going to do? I knew that I had fallback plans and things that could work while it wouldn't be ideal. I would be able to make it work versus, like if Corey doesn't plan enough, then he could literally die in the Boundary Waters, and this might be the last podcast you ever see.
Might be rough.
See you guys later.
But yeah, that's a very good point. I have, ever since COVID sent us back home, I have definitely wanted to come back to Bemidji. This is where all my friends are. This is where, well, not all, but this is where a lot of them are. This is where the community that I've sort of built, sort of kind of found myself in is. And it's true that because it's a college thing, a lot of people are going to be leaving or have already left. And so it's not a forever thing, but I think in the meantime, it's going to be really good, and it's going to be good for my mental health and for my development. And I'm happy that I made the decision. I'm happy that, like you said, I basically created a hard deadline for myself. Okay, if I don't get a job by May, I'm going to move to Bemidji. and I made that happen. As bumpy as the road's been, it's still a road.
Hey, you kept your promise, right?
Yeah.
Stuck true to
amazing.
yourself.
Yeah, and let's talk about some of your craziness, Eric. Where are you moving to?
Oh man. I will be living in Minneapolis, on the West Bank. So I actually I figured out in Puerto Rico, and I was emailing the hall directors and everything like this. So actually, they had placed me at a building as an RA, but it was on their St. Paul campus, and that is as far away as possible as I could possibly be from the building that I have classes. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So they're very kind. I was like, hey, what about a position in this one building that is literally right across the street from where I would have all my classes, and where all the people that are in my acting company would be. And so I was just waiting. Like I kind of honestly just forgot to reply and kind of forgot about it. And then she'd reached out to me. She's like, hey, we just had a spot open up. Would you like this? I'm like, I'm in Puerto Rico, and I'm like trying to set up this interview with the hall director. I'm like, hey, there might be people like bikinis in the background, but like I want to have this meeting right now. So like, sorry. He's like, never mind. Let's not do it right now. Let's do it like 4 p.m. So I was actually in a better environment. But it all worked out. And so basically, because before I thought, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to make it work with being an RA and being in the program because it was too rigorous. But after talking to him, seems like it's going to be okay. Seems like it's going to be pretty chill. So I'm excited to see what they do for Res Life versus Bemidji. And yeah, I think it's just going to work out. I just got to have a lot of good communication between my program director and the hall director and all that. So, but that's what's happening moving forward. I move in mid-August. So it's great. I'm done with Dairy Queen on August 1st. And
let's go.
And life continues. I'm pushing through. I'm trying to limit how many times at work I say I loathe this and I hate my life here. Trying to make the most of it, but I mean, today I was not feeling it. I was like, Eric, what's wrong? I'm like, I hate my life here. That's what's wrong. No, but it's fine.
But the end is in sight. That's got to give you some hype, some hope.
It is, and I'm training for this Tough Mudder, which Johnny has a family reunion.
Gosh.
He wasn't able to do it with Axel and I, but my friend Axel and I are going to do this Tough Mudder, which is a 10-mile run, and it has 25 obstacles, something like that.
When is it?
Of just various things. July 10th. So I've got like 4 or 5 weeks to train, so we're gonna see.
And just to give you the listeners a
invite.
quick preview on some of the obstacles, because I looked it up after I realized that I couldn't go. One of them is to dive into an ice bath, and you have to go fully under twice to get to the other side. One of them is running straight into a bunch of hanging wires with live electricity. And then there's like your regular obstacles, like climbing a 10-foot wall and some other crazy stuff. It is not going to be easy.
Crawling through mud and everything. We're going to see what happens. I keep looking at myself in the mirror every morning. I'm like, wow, I should go for a run today. And then I just don't. I got to get myself on the train. So I'm starting. I'll get there. I'll get to the point I need to be at. It'll work out. But that's all for me. Corey, I'm going to hit you with this. What do you got moving forward? And then I want to hear you talk about acceptance and touching on that one podcast we had with a good friend of ours when you're done.
Who? Oh.
What's his name?
Is that Trevor guy?
He put your face on his card.
I know, that mother fricker.
He got you back.
Oh my god. He okay. For those who don't know, actually no, I showed it in a different in that podcast.
You did, yep.
Actually. I put his face on my debit card, and now he put my face on his debit card. and he texted me like a month ago, and he was like, "I'm gonna get you back," and I was like, "For what?" And he didn't say what for. He's
He
like, "Oh, you'll
didn't?
see. You'll see. It's coming in the mail. It's on its way." And I was like, "Okay." And then yesterday, he sends me a video of his debit card, and it's me in my 9th grade school picture on his debit card. And I'll just say this, I did not look good in 9th grade. So thank you, Trevor, for being a absolute gem. I love you with my whole heart. Yeah, so moving forward for me, yeah, I'm moving to Missouri in July 27th, so 2 months from now, where I will be a hall director. I've talked about this in the past, but just an update on that, actually. I signed up for all my classes, and I submitted my vaccination documents, so, like, I'm ready to go. Like, RA training, gonna be right around the corner, and I am probably going to cheese it in the most ridiculous way possible because I want minimal amount of work for me. So, I mean, these two know how I work as a quote-unquote admin position, so, like, you can probably
Exactly.
attest
great.
to
Work.
Yeah, exactly. Work. It'll be fun. Like, honestly, it's gonna be one of those, like, I'm going to figure out the most efficient way to do something, and it'll be just easy. Like, I'm gonna take it as like a strategic approach and see if I can just like loophole my way through everything. Not everything, but like some things where there's just, I don't know, conflict, and then you can just like, whoop, okay, just gonna go underneath that then. Haha. We'll figure it out.
Work
But
smarter, not harder.
exactly, like figure out your options, see which one works best, and just go with it. But I mean, like, on the sense of adaptability, when it comes to me moving to a state that I've never like been in for more than like 3 hours because I've just driven through it, like, I am like very accepting of it at the moment because I'm kind of ready to leave Minnesota for a while just to get a new, fresh experience. Um, but yeah, I don't know. When it comes to adaptability, I'm overly adaptable, I would say, just because I have had my whole like college career, some of my high school career, like I would say like with sports specifically, I've known like almost nothing but hustle and just like being adaptable to stressful situations. I cope very easily with it all. I mean, I don't know if you two have taken the Strengths Quest thing, but my number one strength is adaptability.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
You know what's funny? That's actually also my number one.
Whoa!
Seriously.
See? Very go with the flow.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I what can we say, Johnny? We're the best. How about that?
And
What
then
can we say?
what
We're
can we
kind of
say?
adaptable.
I
We're
just
kind of
freak out in every
adaptable.
situation. I run a Dairy Queen. It's burned near the ground right now.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, that brings up a good point of like acceptance and relating adaptability to acceptance, because you can go through very stressful situations in life without accepting what has happened to you. So like, if you're going through some form of strife or anxiety or any like stressors that are not considered eustress, which is like positive stress, um, then you're taking an impact on any form of like physical, emotional, mental well-being that you have. I mean, stress in general has a physical effect on your body. So when we take on stressors, like it's affecting us, even if you feel like it's not. So when it comes to being stressed, we have to learn to, or if something happens to us, we have to learn to try and accept that. And I think that helps you with being adaptable in general, because if you're easily able to accept something that has happened to you that is either negative or has impacted you in some form or way that may not be as positive, then, or it's just like a huge workload or something like that, and being able to just be like, okay, I'm accepting this. I'm taking it as like a either like learning opportunity for myself to better myself in the future, to figure out a way, if it happens again, to, defend myself, but like in a healthful way, to be able to respond to it in a kind of like a strategic manner, or in a like you can easily process it, so you're just not like, oh my gosh, this is happening again, what the heck do I do? And you're not freaking out, because that happens. It does happen. Like, some people just do not have strong coping mechanisms, and they struggle with stressors, and it's people with like anxiety disorders that literally don't know or can't cope well, because it's a mental health issue that they might have, or a mental health a struggle that they might have. They need extra assistance or reassurance, or some form of either extrinsic motivating factor or whatnot, to be able to help them cope more efficiently. Whether it's medication, a good healthy social group, like really good friends, right? Like some better friends. Haha, see segue, So like really good friends. Even if they have just like their own personal, like therapy is a huge thing as well. I think we should start. I mean, therapy sadly is still stigmatized in a negative standpoint, but like I think we're moving into a better direction with therapy in general for anxiety disorders, and wanting to help people in that realm. So I think when it comes to acceptance and stressors and anxiety, oh, your dog is barking, Eric.
Yeah, it does that.
Well, thank God, because I don't know how much longer that monologue was going to go for, Professor. But
rude. Okay, whatever. You know what? I wasn't even done yet either. Bully.
Well, I was gonna say I agree with you. I think acceptance, adaptability. How can you be adaptable without accepting? Like, to me, what adaptability means is accepting. Okay, I'm in the situation that I'm in. Let's not think about everything that led to this situation. Let's figure out what we do now, right? So you just sort of accept it, like, okay, we are where we are. We can't turn back time. We can't not be where we are. Like, I'm in Bemidji. I can't go back and say, wait, I'm actually not going to do that.
Right.
So how do you figure it out? You have to immediately jump to, okay, here's what I can do now to improve my situation.
Right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think they're inextricably linked.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's just going along the lines of just like, it's already happened. You can't change what has happened, so you have to figure out how to move forward. And you will move forward. Like, you have to be optimistic about it. I shouldn't say have to. You should try to have a positive outlook on it if it is a negative stressor, It's
almost like living in the present.
Yeah.
It's almost like focused on the now instead of the past or the future as much.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
What are your thoughts, Eric?
I think you guys freaking nailed it. And that stuff you two were both saying, I think that's something I need to hear right now, because I'm stressed at my job and I'm kind of loathing it, and being in more of a negative mindset than I usually am. So, yeah, there's nothing more to say. You guys absolutely nailed it with that. And a phrase I've heard is, what just happened, you can't change it because it couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't. It's like something like that. But yeah, like it truly couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't. And so there's no point in thinking about it. It's only right here. And yeah, just putting it in perspective, you realize like, wow, that really means nothing. So
Yeah, no, that's
move
so
forward.
true. Yeah, like you can't change what happened, so it's better to move on. You know?
Exactly.
And you can get kind of spiritual with it as well.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how much you subscribe to the belief that everything happens for a reason, but I don't know how much I subscribe to that belief either. But I do believe that there's a lot of things that happen for a reason. There's a lot of things that you do or that you've gone through that have put you into where you are now and will help you in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also I try to think about that in the tough times. Like for example, when you're living that hobo life and you don't want to take up space in somebody's fridge, so you're making Nutella and peanut butter sandwiches, and it's like the most unhealthy thing ever, and your body actually hates intaking that much carbs, so you wake up in the morning and you shit blood,
Oh.
and you're like, well,
Oh,
this is preparing me for the future.
This sounds. Is this possibly close to home, Connie?
No, that's just a hypothetical. Don't worry about it.
One last thing I want to say before we wrap it up is so there was a situation in Puerto Rico where, you know, nobody likes it when something goes wrong, but something did go wrong. Basically, one of the people we were with, they fell while we were riding a bike. Let's say like broke something. I don't want to get too personal into it, but and then had to take them to like an emergency room to get this like fixed. And ultimately everything worked out, but in that moment of crisis, and like afterwards and just everything, like there are several things that went wrong during this trip, but like we just kind of rolled with the punches. I think, like we said, living in the moment really helps reflecting on what's happening and kind of enjoying just the experience almost, because like after all that happened, I'm like, well, honestly, like it was a shitty experience, like having someone like have to be taken to the hospital, but I mean, it just adds on to the experiences. I'm just someone who loves experiences, so I mean, like, and Johnny,
Stop crying because you fell and broke a bone. Why don't you just live in the moment?
No, it's not in the moment, it's after reflecting. Okay, anyway, so Johnny, you're gonna look back and be like, wow, I'm so glad that I was a little homeless for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say one thing too?
Yeah.
Since we did touch a little bit on mental health, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So reach out to those who might be struggling with mental health, or just in general, reach out to your loved ones, friends, family, and check in on them in general. So, yeah.
That's perfect. Check on your friends, see if they're okay. We love you all. Thank you for watching this episode of the Better Friends Podcast. We are available on Spotify and YouTube. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. And we will see you next week on Monday. We're back in it, folks. We love you. Thank you for watching.
Peace.